Okay, so today it's pretty straightforward. As you can see, kind of by our outline, we're going to do 2 questions today. One of the questions does take a little bit of time, that's why I'm only doing 2 today. Tomorrow we'll do 2, and then Wednesday we'll do 2. On Wednesday we have a very short schedule. I think you guys are in here for like 26 minutes or something like that. It's the normal Wednesday early out. You guys are out at 1:25 or something like that, I think. So kind of pay attention to that. We have basketball games this week. Obviously JJV has games. Our girls team has varsity and JV tonight. That starts at 6:15 for the JV, so there's no boys games tonight. That's why they're starting a little bit later. And then tomorrow it's a quad. Everyone's playing tomorrow. So good luck to all those teams this week. So we got some stuff kind of going on. Obviously with winter break coming up. This practice guide, when is it due? Monday the 4th. That's the day we come back from winter break, right? So keep that in mind. This needs to be completed. Don't lose it. Obviously, I would take pictures as you go so you can study it, or just use my website and kind of look at the diagrams I've had. Semester test is on Tuesday when we're back, so kind of keep that in mind. It's a 1-day, 1-class test. So you're not going to finish it that day after school because I leave at like 2 o'clock that day for basketball. So it's got to be 1 class, 1 day. So really study. Know your stuff when you walk in here so you are more than prepared to do whatever you need to. And then light work is due this Wednesday. So if you have not turned stuff in, and I'm going to be entering some stuff today. So hopefully by the time we're done here today, I'll start kind of entering some older assignments, some stuff that you guys have turned in to me. So I'm going to kind of go through the grade book and whatnot. So hopefully that'll make sense. So, all right. Questions though. Okay, if you have anything, don't be afraid. These are the days to ask questions, right? This is what I want you to get comfortable, know how to do it. That's why I'm not assigning a lot of problems, right? I always tell you this every day, but I want you to be comfortable with these problems, soak in the material so that you're not getting overwhelmed and you're forgetting everything. I know we're spreading this over many days, but it's for your benefit so you can ask questions and that we're not overloading you and you can feel comfortable with the stuff we're doing. So. But again, study that stuff. If you go to my website, mrward.org, I know, shameless plug. Let's see. There we go. But again, if you're on the website here, let's see if I can drag this over. Okay. There we go. All right, so shameless plug, I know, but here you go. Let's see if I can drag that. No, that. What is this? All right, so there you go. Let's see if I can make that bigger. How do I go full screen on that without being able to see the controls? There we go. No, not that one. What does it say? Oh, what a nightmare. I can't see the controls. All right, there we go. So if you're on mrward.org, you could scroll down to the bottom to kind of see the problems we've done previously. So they're down here, right? This is all the stuff from Friday. Or you can just go at the top, stay at the top, and just click on those daily lessons up here. This kind of tab right there. Let's see, right here. Click on the daily lessons, go down to geometry. And it's got all the videos, so if you kind of scroll down, it's got all the videos for the entire year. But here's your semester review parts, so part 1 and part 2. So there you go. So you can click on those. It will take you right to the links, all the notes we talked about. It reminds you when homework is. It's got pictures of the actual problems in case you can't see them very well. It's got all my work without my little picture-in-picture on it. And then if you click the video, it'll show you the picture-in-picture. So for that, for the class that we did. So hopefully it's working. If something doesn't work for you, just let me know. And I posted to YouTube. It's just easier that way. Everyone can access YouTube from home and whatnot, so on any device. So that's kind of why I post it there. So, all right. Questions? Okay, we're going to just kind of go into it here. We'll kind of work through some problems, and then hopefully you'll feel comfortable with this stuff. I'm going to have to do a little bit of typing because we have to do kind of a race format question today with math. I know that seems a little weird, but everyone has to have a race format question on their semester test. We're required to. So, yeah, we'll just kind of walk through this here. So, all right. yeah, let's jump right in. We'll kind of go through the problems here. This is question number 1. We did this one last Thursday. We talked about points, lines, and planes. We talked about, how to find distance. This is the only one that you have to know, memorize a formula for it, so know that. Number 3 is about angles. There was a ton of parts about, vertices, the sides, if it's a linear pair or supplementary, if they're, vertical or complementary or anything. Make sure that you know how to write it. You can add extra letters, extra numbers. We talked about that. Number 4, we talked about all the names of polygons and polyhedra, if it's convex or concave and regular or irregular. We talked about that on Friday. And then obviously we did the truth table and the percentages on Friday as well. So if you were not here for that, present for that, you can go back and check those out. Again, check the video, or just look at the screenshots that we did, and hopefully you can figure that out. I'd recommend watching the video. That way you can kind of see how I actually went through a problem. All right, any questions on any of the 5 questions we've done up to this point? Okay. All right. I want to give you an option if you have questions. Okay. All right, we're going to start with 6 and we're going to go to 7 today. That's it. 2 problems. Super easy. Hopefully this will make sense to you. On these problems, you have to give me the property names. So the property steps. So this one is not an equation. So we are not using any of the properties of equality. No, it's not like add property of equality and identity and the inverse. We're not doing that. These are it's either distribution or it's commutative. That's really what we're doing, and then substituting and the little things after that. This is something that we did a lot in class. We spent multiple days on this. This is, I think, section 2.2 or 2.3 in the textbook that we did. So if you go back and look at the videos, I think this was mid-October or something like that we were doing these. No, it has to be probably from this quarter. So it has to be almost the beginning of November when we did this stuff. So it was a while. I mean, this is probably the first couple of things we've talked about in this particular quarter. I think it was right in the beginning of November, and it could have been late October. All right. Anyway, let's kind of walk through the steps here. So let's just talk about the math. Let's not worry about property names. Let's just do the math. What should I do first on this problem?
Do 8 times 3 and then 8 times negative 11.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm going to hand it out, right? So I'm not going to worry about the property names. We'll do that here in a minute. You're absolutely right. So let's actually write that down. We're going to hand this 8 to each item just like you said. That's perfect. So 8 times the 3x. And notice I'm not actually multiplying that, not saying, 24. And then I'm going to hand that 8 to the negative 11. So I just hand it to the 11 like that. I just put the minus sign in between it. And then the minus 7's in the back. Don't worry about the property names. I don't want you to get caught up on that right now. We're going to do that here in a minute. That's the justify your steps. That's the property names we'll do. You will have a printout for all the property names. In fact, maybe I should print those out as we get going here, so you can kind of see what you're gonna have in your hand. It's that physical copy. So I'll get that one here in a second. All right. So we're at this point now. I've handed the 8 like you said. Now, can the numbers see each other currently? The 8 and 3 and the 8 and 11? No, the numbers can't. The parentheses are preventing them from being multiplied. You have to move the parenthesis bars. That's all we have to do. I know that seems like a tedious step, but the numbers have to be able to see each other. So I'm going to move the parenthesis bars around the 8 and 3. I'm going to move the parenthesis bars around the 8 and the 11. I know it's a simple little step, but a lot of people forget that. After you distribute, you have to do this step where you associate, where you move the parenthesis bars so the numbers can see each other. They're visible. Then we can get down to the answers, right? So you can get down to your final numbers. So what do we get when we multiply 8 times 3? 24. And 8 times the 11? 88. Now we have the minus 7. Okay, now at this point, now we might have to go further where we commute, where we move things around so that we can group up like terms, and then you can add and subtract. It looks like they're already kind of in their spots. I don't need to move anything around. The 88 and the 7 in the back. What do I get when I take a negative 88 and subtract 7 more? 96. Say it again? 90, isn't it 95? 95. So 95. So negative 95. Yeah. Hopefully I did my math right in my head. I think I did. All right. Actually, let's change that color. All right. So 24x minus 95. All right. And now, if there was any weird stuff in there, maybe I had to combine x's, right? I didn't have to in this case, but that's where you have to do reverse distribution. You have to pull the x off so the numbers can see each other, then you go further. Okay. Does that make sense, the type of math I'm going to ask you to do? It's going to be either like a 4 or 5 step problem, something like that. It'll be something simple. I consider that simple, by the way, that. Where you have to show the work, you have to show that you can do the simple type of math. All right. It'll be expression, it won't be an equation on this step. It'll be something just almost really close to this. Now, let's go through the property names. All right. On the first one, what was that? What was the property where you hand the 8 out? I think I even said it a couple times. Yeah, you distribute, right? You have to write that down. So we did distribution. Okay. So we handed it out. Now, after you distribute, you have to move the parenthesis bars. When you move the parenthesis bars, what do we get? Yeah, it's associative steps, right? So that's the associative. The associative is where you always have to do that property after you distribute, normal distribution, not reverse, but you have to move the parenthesis bars, it's associative. Then the next step is substitution. So we substituted. Substitution, and then it was substitution the last as well. So, because we just combined like terms, did some simple numbers, replacements. The only thing that could possibly change on this problem is if you had to add variables together. That would add an extra property. Or if you had to commute, where you had to move things around to group them up. That's commutative. That would be the only difference. But do we feel comfortable with this stuff, though? Something like that? Yes, you can have 2 of the same property back to back. So, substitution is when you do like simple arithmetic, multiply, add, subtract, divide, that type of thing, and you're creating new numbers. You know, the 95, the 88, the 7, the 24. Those were like new numbers eventually at some point. So, all right. Now I'm going to draw a line here. Now this doesn't need to be a part of your paper. Question?
So for that.
Yes.
It doesn't go under like the 4 step where it's like
no
property equality.
No, because this doesn't have an equal sign. So we're just doing the simple stuff where you're just using the normal properties of real numbers. So yeah, so you're just kind of reading off what you need to do. Yeah, there's no property equality, inverse, identity, that type of thing. No. That's actually, I think, the thing we're going to do on the race format question. I think you have to do that. Now, I'm going to draw a line here because this extra part, this is just an extra piece that I'm going to write on here. This is not a part of your practice guide. This is just something that I want to give you an example of if you had to add variables together, right? Just so you can see that property if you ever have to do that, right? So let's say we're doing like 13x, and we're going to add, 7, and we're going to add 5x. Let's say this was at some point maybe your problem got down to that. I'm going to go down a little bit here just so you can see that. All right, there we go. So let's say that your problem is this. Again, this is just an extra piece. It's not a part of that original problem, so don't be thrown off by that. I would have to move things around first, right? So if I move things around, I would move the 13x next to the 5x, and I do not care where you put them. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that, you're going to put the x's in the front. You can put them in the back if you want. Then I would factor the x's out so that the numbers can see each other. Like this. You're going to pull the x off. That way the 13 and the 5 can actually see each other. So that way I can add them next. Right? Where I can make the 18x plus 7. Right? If it allows me to write the plus sign, it really doesn't want me to write that plus sign right there.
So would that step 2 or step whatever, where you put 13 plus 5, would that just be called factoring?
that green part, yeah, that's factoring. Yeah. So let's go through the property names. Yeah, good question. So this first step where I went from here where I rearranged it, that's commutative. Right? Just moving things around where you're like grouping like terms. If you have to actually rearrange things, that's commutative. They're not moving across the equal sign. There's no equal sign on this problem. That's just where you're moving things around, numbers around, x's, variables around. That's commutative. Now, just like you were asking, when you move that, when you took the x out of that parenthesis, that is reverse distribution or factoring. I like the word factoring better. All right, I like the word factoring. Then the last is this substitution, where you just do the normal math. Substitution is anytime you're just doing, add, subtract, multiplying, dividing random numbers together. All right, questions with that? I'm just throwing that in there in case you have something like that. I just don't know. I just want to make sure that you're kind of prepared in case whatever your problem is. It's meant to be a simple problem. I'm just trying to prepare you for what property names you're going to have. So, all right. Let's see if I can find that study guide so you guys can see what properties you're going to have. See if I can find it. It's like finding a needle in a haystack trying to find this one document. Did I find it? Is this it? Please say it's it. No, not the right one. Yes. Okay, here we go. All right, let me get rid of the that part right here. All right. Ooh, didn't realize that the website's still up. All right, so here's the study guide that you will have. You will have this in your hand. This will be in your hand on test day. I'll have this printed. It has all the property names printed, just like that. It won't be in color. Sorry, it won't be. But you will have this physically in your hand. Now, if you're online, if you're on Zoom, I will have like screenshots of that, like put on the page so you can see what you need. And I'll only put the ones that you possibly use. So, like on this problem, you don't really need the top ones on this particular problem because we're not doing the properties of equality. There's no equal sign. So, you just have the field properties, the ones at the bottom. So you can see those. For you guys in the room, you'll have the whole thing. Because I know the properties of equality you'll need on, I think, the story problem, the race format. So I want to give you guys that option. All right. Questions. But again, you'll have this in hand. So you won't get to use your own, you have to use mine. Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's go back. Alrighty. So, but yeah, so that there is our problem where you have to simplify. Notice you're not solving, you're simplifying. Questions on number 6. Any particular part you weren't quite understanding, it didn't make sense to you, we can do a different type of problem. I can make up a new one. It's going to be something short. I'm thinking like 4 steps. Something easy. Like, I don't want to make it too long. The reason why you have to get through the entire semester test in one class period. So I don't want to make this like the most difficult problem in the world. There's no point in doing that. That's not realistic. I want to make it so that if you know what you're doing, you know your properties. You probably don't even need the property sheet. You know what to do as you go through it. Okay, good? Okay, let's move on. This is the last problem of the day. This one I want to pretty much spend the most time on. It is a... okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so this is a race format question. Maybe I'll have to type this stuff out on the next part here. Oh, geez, you guys can't even see that. All right, so race format question. So It'll be something like this. It'll be some type of problem. It'll be a picture, and you have to demonstrate that you know how to answer it. Now, if you don't remember what race format is, okay, race format is where you are attempting to solve a problem. You're trying to give me the answer right away. The main thing here about a race format question is that you have to restate the question and answer it. That's what R and A stand for. You restate the question and answer it in the first sentence. The first sentence should be your answer. Then the rest of it is you clarify and expand upon how did you do it, right? So when I attempt these problems, this race format, I would just do the math off to the side before I even start. You know, maybe you have a separate sheet of paper. Maybe you have, maybe on this particular problem you have to, do some actual algebra. Like, we're going to have to do some algebra here to solve this thing. Then once you know what your answer is, then I can go back to this problem and actually go and solve it. Okay. Okay, we ready to go though? All right, so let's walk through the math here, because I think that's what really catches people off guard. It's like, what is the math? Like, how do I even find the answer for this thing? If you don't recognize this problem, I don't know if you even did your latest homework that was due last Thursday, right? Where you had to do a midpoint. A is the midpoint on this particular problem. Again, it was just a problem I kind of found in your textbook. A is the midpoint. You have to solve for X and then find the two sticks, A, B, and AC. Okay, so that means I have to set this up. What do we know about those two pieces if A is the midpoint? They're equal. I could just set these equal to each other. You know what? I think the ones we did in the homework, there was a couple problems where you had to add two pieces and set it equal to the entire stick, A to C or B to C in this case. That type of thing. So just be kind of aware of that. So on this one, and again, this is just the extra stuff I do off to the side. I'm going to just do the math. I need to figure out what this X is. So I would just do this before I start writing the race format. Race format's in proper sentence format. You're answering it. You're doing all that. I need to do this first because I need to know what my answer is, so I even know how to answer that thing. So how do I solve? Let's walk through this. What do I need to do? Please.
Move the X here.
Yeah, like move the X over, right? What happens when I move it over? Becomes a negative. Perfect. All right, what else? That was good. Good start. What do I do next? Move the 6 over, and it also becomes negative. So 14 minus 6. Okay, that's good. Next piece. What do we get? X is 8. All right, so I found my X. So when I start typing this out, I'll do that in the next slide here in a second. I'll start typing out my answer. That's something I need to know, right? I'm going to have to describe what I'm doing here. How I'm balancing the equation where I add, I subtract 6 to both sides or I subtract 2x to both sides. That's something I'm going to clarify when I'm in the middle of my race format. That's a part of the expanding, explaining my rational thinking. And I obviously in the first sentence I have to write x is 8, right? Because that's what the question says, find x. And the measure of A and B, or A, B, and AC. So I have to use this 8. If I plug this 8 back in, what do we get? If I plug it 8 back in here? 30, right? It's 24 plus 6, which is 30. And if I plug my x back in here, 30. And that makes total sense. Why does that make sense? Yeah, they're supposed to be the same, right? That's the whole point of what we're doing, right? Is the midpoint. We have to prove that they're the same number. Did I really need to plug it into both? No. It's kind of nice to justify your answer. It's kind of nice to check your answer. Right? We said if A is the middle, the two sticks should be equal. We just proved the point, right? All right, now. This is where we have to do the race format. I'm going to have to type this out. I'm going to have to write it. Now, obviously, you guys are going to be writing by hand. This is one where you will have plenty of space to write. I might, on your particular one on the semester test, I'll probably have, the description here for number 7 moved off to the side and the picture off to the side a little bit more than it is. I just put this one here because I needed to make sure it looked fine when I put it up on my projector because if I put them too close to the top, it kind of gets lost. So, but yeah, I'm gonna type out this race format, what I'd expect to see. Now, is there one right answer? No. When you do race format, there's a billion correct answers. I'm just showing you what I want to see, right? Something like how you do race format for mathematics. That's what I want to kind of prove. Okay, we ready to go though? Okay, I'm gonna go to my next slide. We're gonna start typing out how to do this. Okay. All right, I need my keyboard case so I can actually type. All right. Okay, so let's do some typing here. This could be pretty big. Okay, so when you do race format, the value of x is 8, and the length of AB and AC is 30 units. Okay, that's how you start race format, right? I answer the question, I restate the question right away. The question was find x. Well, x is that, right? And then the length of AB and AC, there, right? You restate an answer. So if it says, what is the value of this? You say the value is, right? You restate what the question said and you answer it in one go. The first sentence of your race format should answer the question. You restate and answer. I know that's not really great formatting for when you do like a research paper. You don't really restate what the questions were. You actually give evidence and you put that in the middle of your body of your description. But on race format, you answer it in the first sentence. If I read your first sentence up to the period, you better restate the question and answer it all in one sentence, not two sentences. Does that make sense? Now, when I go to the next line, now I start writing why. Well, I would immediately start going to the reasoning. How did I set up my problem? And I would start typing that out. With point B being the midpoint was it point A was the midpoint, right? Sorry. Point A being the midpoint of BC. The two segments are congruent. What were my two segments again? What were the values?
3x plus 6.
3x plus 6
2x plus 14
is equal to 2x plus 14. Solving for x using inverse operations, I subtracted 6 from both sides of the equation as well as 2x. This resulted, and you just type in blah, 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 x equals 8, right? You get the idea what I'm doing here. I'm just making this up as I go. Yours could be way better than mine, right? You just have to write like what you're doing. Like, I want to see what you did. Obviously, I did all that work off to the side in that last question, right? You should be able to, type out what you're doing and then expand. I will use x equals 8 in the two segments to find the value of AB and AC. Now 3 times 8 plus 6. And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see what I'm doing here, how I'm typing this stuff? It's one of those things that you just write in words what you're doing. Just do the best you can, right? You're just trying to write down as much as you can. When you do race format, what's a good number of sentences? 4 or 5, something like that? Like, it doesn't have to be huge, right? You're not writing a novel. Just give me a few steps. The problem I'm going to give you will not be difficult, right? You got to get it done in one class period. It's going to be something silly where you're just solving, all right? It's nice if you use property names. Like I said, inverse operations. I'm subtracting from both sides. Just describe to me what you're doing as best you can. You know, in words. How did you come up with 8? That's what you want to describe to me. All right, questions though. Now, is this the only way to write it? No, this is probably terrible formatting, what I just did there. It's just, I'm showing you an idea what I want to see, right? It doesn't have to be the best. I'm not an English major. I'm not going to butcher you on this. As long as you give me enough information I can grade and that you're using the right format. Do not just write, if I had this last year, I'm not even joking. Okay. I'm not joking. This is what somebody did to me last year. That's all somebody wrote last year. That's all they wrote. You didn't put it in sentence formatting. You didn't write the race format. You didn't do any of the work. You didn't write any paragraphs. You missed a lot of points. The race format question on this particular problem is worth 10 points. They missed like all the points but 1. They did get their answer. X is 8. AB and AC is 30. I agree with that. That's 1 point. The answer is 1 point. The race formatting is the other 9 of it. Did you know how to do race format? That's why they've been practicing that in English. And yeah, you can't tell me you haven't been practicing that. I know they have been doing it. So, use the formatting. For math, it's super easy. Just explain it in words. It's not meant to be a difficult problem. All right, questions? Perfect. That's it for today. So, I'll post this video on my website. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So.
Do you want a pencil bag?
Yeah, sure. Question? Yes, you may. Where'd that go? Go down there? There it goes. Perfect. Let me stop the camera here. The camera's leaning. It's gonna be a real great video.